Shemai. Today we're going to have a look at Yarrow, or in Latin Achilles milfolium, or in Welsh milvile, or also Lleisiau'r gwaedleaf. It's a great little plant, often considered again to be a weed. It's a creeping one that will spread through the grass, and it also goes by lots and lots of different names, such as nosebleed, thousand leaf, woundwort, carpenter's weed, knight's milfoil, soldier's woundwort, and you'll see why as we look into it in a bit more detail. Now today I'm a bit stuck and crammed in between my compost bins because that's where I've got a patch of it growing. Yarrow is a perennial plant, and one of my favourite parts of it are the beautiful feathery leaves, incredibly finely cut. There's a grass in amongst there, and it's the reason for one of its other names, the thousand leaf. Yarrow is generally said to grow up to about 60 centimetres tall, but actually in this patch here, because they're slightly shaded by the compost bins, there's certainly some that are just a bit taller than that. Yarrow's flowers give off quite a sweet smell, and it will flower between June and November. The flower heads are around about, the individual flower heads there, around about 10 millimeters across, and they grow in these beautiful flat top clusters. The flowers have 5 little white petals with a yellow centre. Now the yarrow flowers themselves can vary in colour, and there's also some that can be bought specifically for your garden and can come in yellows and reds, but this is a wild variety that I've left to grow. Yarrow has a very long and interesting history. The Latin name itself derives from the Greek hero Achilles, who learned about Yarrow's ability to heal battle wounds from his centaur mentor Chiron. And also, legend says that the Battle of Troy, Achilles healed many of his warriors with Yarrow. The second part of the name, of the Latin name, the milfolium, literally means thousand leaves, and that's one of the other names for it, the thousand leaf. The history of it goes back, like I say, a long way, and it's always been considered quite a sacred herb. It was used by the Greeks to control bleeding. The Druids used stems to divine seasonal weather, so to tell what was going to happen with the weather. In ancient China, the 52 straight stalks of dried yarrow of an even length were spilled to foretell the future. And it's often associated with magic, and the Anglo-Saxons believed it would work against evil. In the 17th century, it was a popular vegetable, but it can have quite a bitter taste to it. Yarrow is a great plant for insects. In the short time that I've been here, there's been lots of flies, hoverflies, bees. And if you look there, just see. But it's the medicinal uses that it's best known for. This idea that it will stop bleeding, that it can be used to pack wounds with its antibacterial and antimicrobial qualities. And also, it's great for fevers and colds. And if you drink it as a tea, it can help sort of relieve the sort of symptoms of fevers. But they do say, again, you've got to know what you're looking at. You've got to be able to recognise it, and you've got to be careful. They say if you use it for long periods of time, it can cause sometimes irritation to the skin, and if you're drinking it as a tea, it can also cause headaches. One of its other names that we mentioned earlier was nosebleed. Now this was because, not because it cured nosebleeds, but it was believed to also not only stop bleeding, but start bleeding, start nosebleeds, which back in the olden days, it was having nosebleeds was a way that was believed to cure migraines. But also it said that if you do have a nosebleed and you bruise and crush up the leaves and put it into your nose, it will stop bleeding. But it appears that this use by the Greeks to control bleeding shows that they had the best understanding of it. It was used as a wound packing material, and as a wound dressing carried by battle surgeons, and mainly because it has this antibacterial and antimicrobial quality, which means that the wound won't get infected. Obviously, the knight's milfoil, the soldier's woundwort, and the carpenter's weed, the woundwort is for this reason, because those were people who were likely to get injuries or cuts that would need packing or to stop the bleeding. I've come down onto a different patch of lawn now, and as I always say, you know, you need to get down low and have a good rummage around to see what you're looking at. And you can see here there's the self-heal that we've talked about before, there's the clover. But when I start to look even more closely, I can spot those feathery little leaves of the yarrow. And like I said, it's a creeping root on it, which means it will travel across the ground, underground. And you can see, the more I look, the more I can see these feathery little yarrow leaves, which obviously aren't going to come into flower on the lawn here, because it's not going to ever get long enough. But you can see how it's there, and just by getting down onto the grass and having a good look, you can start to pick it out. So there we go. Yarrow, another fabulous little herb with amazing history and lots of uses. You may not have it growing in your garden like I've got here, but you may have it in your lawn like I've shown you. So go out, have a look, and good luck.